Every muscle in our bodies has a function. If a muscle is weak, compensation will occur. In this video, we're going to go through 4 neglected muscles and exercises to strengthen these muscles for pain-free movement. Coach E for Precision Movement here, and today we're going to do what we do best, which is coach you through some exercises to work neglected areas of your body. In this case, we're going to focus on 4 upper body muscles that you might not have heard about before, but are really important because when any muscle is weak or not doing its job, a compensation is going to occur. And when compensations occur, pain and injury follow. So the muscles we're going to work on today are the Subscapularis, Brachialis, Pronator Quadratus, and the entire wrist and finger extensor group. So if these sound like some muscles that you need to work because you haven't worked them before, then this video is for you. And we're going to start off with the Subscapularis. The Subscapularis is one of the rotator cuff muscles. There are 4 rotator cuff muscles, and it's the only rotator cuff muscle that performs the movement of internal rotation. That's where the arm moves like that, or the shoulder moves like that specifically. So the bicep is turning in towards your body. If this muscle is weak, then it's not going to balance out the external rotators of the rotator cuff group, those other 3 muscles, the teres minor, infraspinatus, and supraspinatus. And then we get imbalanced movement and poor alignment of the shoulder joint as we're moving around. So we need balance through the rotator cuff group. The way that we're going to wake up and strengthen this muscle is through an exercise I call 3-way subscapularis isometrics. Very simple exercise, don't need any equipment. We're going to start off. Now remember, internal rotation is this movement. So that's the movement that you want to think about, not adduction, bringing the arm closer to your body. You want to think of that rotation. So picture the bicep rotating. The first isometric move is pressing on the belly. So here you want to set up with, do my left arm, you want to set up in good shoulder positioning. So nice and tall, not slumpy, scapula or shoulder blades slightly retracted. Not totally pinched back together, but just slight retraction to align the shoulder and the upper body. Place the hand on the belly, and then think of that internal rotation movement. The elbow doesn't move, you're just pressing into the belly. You can flex your abs if you want. You're thinking of that rotational movement of the biceps. Hold that for 5 seconds while you're breathing naturally, and then you gradually relax it. Then we bring the arm up, hand on the opposite shoulder, and the same thing, you're thinking of this movement, not just pressing down, but that rotation. So arm on the opposite shoulder, and then that rotational movement. Get a good strong contraction of the muscle. Hold for 5 seconds while breathing naturally, maintaining good form and posture, and then gradually relax it. And the last one is place the hand behind the back, and you're lifting the hand off the back. And again, you're thinking of that rotation movement, not just lifting it straight back, but rotating so the hand comes off the back. Hold it for 5 seconds, and then gradually place the hand back on the back. Very simple exercise, but very powerful because it wakes up this muscle that we often neglect. Again, you start on the belly, good posture, and you rotate into the belly, hold for 5, then you move up to the opposite shoulder, rotate down into the shoulder, hold for 5, breathing naturally, and you finish off with hand behind the back and rotating to lift the hand off the back, maintaining good shoulder posture, good spinal posture, and breathing naturally the whole time. The second muscle we're targeting today is called the Brachialis. And the Brachialis is an elbow muscle, and it lies underneath the muscle that you definitely know about, which is the biceps brachii. This muscle, unlike the biceps brachii, only flexes the elbow. It's a single joint muscle, and it's also a big, strong muscle. So whenever you're doing heavy lifting, you're going to be using this muscle. But if you do exercises in the gym like rows and chin-ups, you're predominantly using the biceps brachii over the brachialis. So this is why this muscle needs to be worked maybe a little bit more, especially if you've done a lot of bicep curls in your day or you do a lot of bicep curls as part of your workout routine. You want to balance out the elbow joint with the brachialis curl. For this exercise, you need a dumbbell. Now, I always demonstrate and teach that you should do one side at a time so you can focus on the technique and really isolate the muscle and target the muscle that you're working. And then once you get good at the exercise, then you can do exercises like this with both arms at the same time. So here, your standard bicep curl is, if you're holding dumbbells, if you're doing dumbbell curls, looks like this. And that's going to work the biceps brachii because it flexes the elbow, which is function number one, and it supinates at the elbow, which is rotating the palm up this way. Those are the two main functions of the biceps brachii. There's a third, but we're not going to talk about that right now. So to hit the brachialis and target the brachialis, what we're going to do is we're going to start in fully supinated position of the forearm and elbow. And as you curl, you're going to pronate, and you're going to get to full elbow flexion, squeeze at the elbow joint. You'll feel almost your biceps brachii kind of relaxed relative to what it normally would be. And then you're going to continue to pronate, which is trying to turn the palm down more as you lower the weight down. And then you reset at the bottom. You start in fully supinated position, and then you curl and pronate. And then you keep pronating as I control the weight down to the start position. The reason why this shuts off the biceps brachii and favors the brachialis muscle is because when we're starting here in supination, that's a position of strength. And when we go into pronation, that is the opposite of what the biceps brachii should be doing. So your brain kind of neurologically down-regulates the amount of contraction through that muscle. And it's biomechanically, it's turning that muscle off. So as I pronate, I'm turning off and inhibiting the biceps brachii, but I'm still flexing the elbow. So what do we need to flex the elbow? We need that brachialis to work. Now the same thing applies on the way down. I'm continually trying to pronate, even though I'm not moving anymore, I'm at full pronation. I'm continually trying to pronate more as I lower the weight down. And again, that's going to shut off the biceps brachii and favor the brachialis. So that's how you wake up and strengthen the brachialis and restore balance to your elbow joint. The third neglected upper body muscle we're going to hit today is called the Pronator quadratus. This is a little muscle that lies right around here, and it performs the function, or it helps to perform the function of pronation of the forearm, which is rotating down like that. So you start with palms up and you rotate down. We talked about this in the previous exercise. Now, one reason why this is really important is because a lot of athletes in sports like tennis, baseball, you get pain right on the medial epicondyle, the medial aspect of the elbow. And there are a lot of muscles that come from here. One of those muscles is the pronator teres. So the pronator teres, from its name, it also contributes to pronation of the forearm. But if we have this other muscle, the pronator quadratus, that isn't up to par, it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing, or it's weak, then more load has to go through the pronator teres to get that pronation movement. So we want to take load away from this area that's already overworked, because so many muscles originate in this area that we work the pronator quadratus, we take a load away from this area, and that helps to balance out the forces that go through the forearm so you don't get overuse injury of the medial elbow, medial epicondylitis, or golfer's elbow. Another reason why this is important is because this movement of pronation is so important to sport. So if you're a tennis player, your serve, you need good pronation. Baseball pitcher, to get maximum velocity, you need good pronation. Even a boxer, you're throwing a punch, you need to pronate at the end to get that final whip and for max punching power. So it's a really important and neglected muscle here. To activate and strengthen this muscle, you need a band, and this is how we're going to do it. Some type of band. You can wrap it around your neck, and you don't need super high tension on the band, especially to start. You could do this with no band. So if you don't have a band, do this with me. Pretend you have a band. So get tension here. You start with your elbow bent and your palm up. And what we're going to do is simply straighten the elbow out to activate the triceps while you're pronating at the end range, and then you're holding for 5 seconds. From there, you are going to slowly return and then repeat. So straighten out as you pronate, hold for 5 seconds at the end. I'm continually trying to pronate more, trying to rotate down, turn that thumb down as much as possible, and then I bring it back under control. The reason why this will target the pronator quadratus over the pronator teres is because the pronator teres crosses the elbow joint and it acts as a weak elbow flexor. So when we activate the triceps by straightening the elbow out, we're activating triceps and shutting off the biceps, and we're shutting off any of the muscles that contribute to elbow flexion. So you've got to keep those triceps on the whole time, and you've got to continually try to pronate the whole time. And that way we're going to target that pronator quadratus, which can take load off the medial elbow and can make your elbows feel better and keep them healthy for the long term. The fourth and final neglected muscle, or muscle group in this case, that we're targeting for the upper body today are the wrist and finger extensor muscles. And these run down the back of your forearm and the top or the back of your hand. Now this is really important because what do we do all day? If we're in the gym, if we're playing sports, if we're dragging our kids around, we are flexing our hand, we're gripping, we're using the forearm flexors. And if we do that over enough time and we do it a lot, we're going to end up in this position. You see guys in the gym rats, especially the guys who like to work those biceps, they walk around like this. They're in this flexed position. We need to balance that out, because if we don't have balance at a joint, then we're not going to optimally load the joints, and that's when pain and injuries can occur. Whether it's carpal tunnel or some kind of elbow issue like golfers and tennis elbow that we just talked about, there's going to be some type of issue that manifests when we have imbalances, either through strength or length, which is aka range of motion. So the wrist and finger extensors, how are we going to work them today? Well, this is a very simple technique, and it's, I think of it as the web shooter, like Spider-Man shooting web. So how you can do it is, again, start with one side at a time, and you start in the fully flexed position. So you make that fist and you flex the wrist, and then you flex the elbow. What this does is it fully lengthens these extensor muscles of the forearm and of the hands and wrists and fingers. From here, you unfurl it. So you extend the elbow, extend the fingers, extend the wrist, and at the end range, you're trying to work all these muscles on the back of the forearm, even the triceps, and the back of the hand. Hold it for 5 seconds, trying to get deeper into the range, straightening the elbow, extending the wrist as much as possible, extending the fingers, and then you return, curl everything back. That way, by doing this unfurling into the web shooter, you're working the muscle through the full range of motion. Now, one thing that often happens is people have one finger that they can't straighten, or a couple fingers that they can't fully straighten out. If this is the case for you, one thing you could do is at the end range when you're holding, again, you're activating triceps, extensors, you try to straighten out whatever finger is not straight and then push on the back of it. Push on the back of it. So you're not pulling this way. A lot of people make that mistake is, oh, I can't straighten my finger or straighten a joint or whatever. I'm just going to pull on it to straighten it. What that's doing is it's stretching, passively stretching the muscle, but you're not strengthening the muscle that causes that joint to be straight. So what we need to do is we need to do something that's going to wake up the muscle that is sleepy or weak, and that's going to help that muscle to do what it's supposed to do, which is straighten the joint. So if this finger is bent, I'm going to push against this finger. I can straighten it out a little bit, but then I'm going to push against it to force that muscle to wake up and to get stronger. So that is how you strengthen the wrist and finger extensors, and that's how you restore balance to this area of the body that is so imbalanced just because of everything we do with our hands. To recap the muscles and exercise that we did today, we started off with the subscapularis, and we did the 3-way subscapularis iso exercise. Do this exercise for 2 to 3 sets, 3 reps, holding each for 5 seconds. Next, we moved to work the brachialis, doing brachialis curls, do 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps. Next, we went to the Pronator quadratus. For this exercise, do 2 sets of 4 to 6 reps, holding for 5 seconds. And we've just finished off with the wrist and finger extensors, do 2 sets of 4 to 6 reps, again holding for 5 seconds. So I hope you enjoyed that little dive into the nether regions of the human body and to work some muscles that you've probably never targeted and you might not have even heard about. And if you do this, this is going to help you to restore balance to your body. It's going to wake up muscles that might be sleepy or weak, and that's how we keep a body that moves freely and without pain for the long term. If you liked this video, make sure you subscribe to our channel because this is what we do here. I've got a couple other videos to work these muscles and other muscles that are neglected here and here that you can check out. And if you have not done this, download our ROM Coach app. We've designed this for you to help keep you moving so you can get back to and keep doing the active things you love. So download it and use it every day.